The story opens in 12th century England, where the ambitious and determined Earl of Warwick consults an old, mysterious witch known for her dark magic. Driven by his desire for Princess Rosalind, the daughter of the reigning English king, the Earl is distraught over her upcoming marriage to Count Thibaut Malafet of France. Determined to prevent the union, he offers the witch a substantial amount of gold, requesting that she use her powers to eliminate the princess's fiancé. As he hands over the gold, he issues a chilling warning saying that should she fail, he will see to it that she meets a fiery end. The following morning, Count Thibaut along with his family and his foolish servant André, begin their journey to the castle for the wedding. Thibaut, a valiant knight with a deep sense of pride in his family's long tradition of bravery, is always ready to lend a hand to those in need. Along the way, he encounters a woman in distress and bravely comes to her rescue before continuing on his path to the castle. Upon their arrival at the castle, Thibaut meets Princess Rosalind, and the two engage in a brief but playful exchange. Before she departs to prepare for their evening wedding, she hands him a lock of her hair, asking him to keep it close to his heart as a token of her affection. That evening, a grand wedding celebration unfolds in the castle's great hall. The guests are feasting and reveling in the joyous occasion when the old witch, under the cover of the crowd, slips into the hall. She discreetly pours a potion into Princess Rosalind's cup and tells the Earl her plan that once Rosalind drinks it, she will be plagued by terrifying hallucinations, seeing everyone around her as monstrous creatures, which will drive her to kill Count Thibaut. During the celebration, the king and Thibaut give brief speeches, expressing their excitement for the marriage alliance. However, after the speech, Thibaut and Rosalind exchange their cups as they toast. Thibaut ends up drinking the potion that was meant for Rosalind. Soon after, the potion takes effect, causing Thibaut to see terrifying visions of beasts all around him. In panic, he mistakes Rosalind for one of the creatures and tragically kills her. As the guests reel in horror, Thibaut is immediately seized and imprisoned for the brutal act. Desperate, he claims he was under the influence of dark magic and orders his servant André to seek out a wizard who can help prove his innocence. Determined to save his master, André sets out and soon returns with a wizard, both of them disguised as priests. They arrive at the castle just as Thibaut is awaiting his execution. Convincing the guards they are there to perform Thibaut's last rites, they are granted access to the room. In his prison cell, Thibaut pleads with the wizard to bring Princess Rosalind back to life. The wizard, though powerful, admits that he cannot revive the dead but offers to send them back in time to prevent Rosalind's death. Eager to save her, Thibaut agrees, and the wizard prepares a potion. Once the potion is ready, André volunteers to drink it first to ensure its safety. When he shows no harmful effects, Thibaut follows. As the wizard begins the spell, they begin to vanish. The wizard then realizes he has forgotten a critical ingredient, an egg, causing the spell to fail, and sending them into the unpredictable corridors of time. When Thibaut and André awaken, they find themselves in an unfamiliar chamber, which is actually a modern-day museum exhibit. Confused by their surroundings, they panic and try to escape, mistaking people and objects as their threats. Completely overwhelmed by their surroundings, they eventually drop to their knees before a statue, believing it to be their deity. They beg for forgiveness for their misguided use of magic. Just as they are praying, police officers arrive and take them into custody. The case draws the attention of Julia Malafet, the head of the museum's medieval art department, who happens to closely resemble Princess Rosalind. Julia, a respected historian, had also been the one to donate the famous 12th century castle exhibit where the two men were found. When the officer in charge shows her several artifacts taken from Thibaut and André, including gold coins, a sword, a large ring, a dagger, and a small box stolen from Thibaut's prison cell, Julia is stunned. Not only are the items authentic to the medieval period, but the ring also bears her family's ancient coat of arms. Intrigued and a little unsettled, she insists on meeting the strange men herself, determined to understand who they truly are. When Julia enters her office, Thibaut and André are overjoyed, mistaking her for Princess Rosalind. Thibaut immediately apologizes for the tragic accident, believing he killed her, while André kneels, showing respect. In an attempt to prove his story, Thibaut pulls out the lock of hair Rosalind had given him before their wedding and tries to convince Julia that she is, in fact, the princess. Just as they are about to kiss, the guards intervene, pulling them apart, and Julia's supervisor quickly takes her away for her safety. Inside, as the guards begin to beat Thibaut and André, they shout out their family motto saying that courage is their creed. Hearing this, Julia rushes back, stopping the guards, realizing that the phrase is tied to her own family. She declares them her cousins, explaining that Thibaut is her long-lost relative from France who was believed to have drowned at sea. As Thibaut and André are chained, Thibaut notices several posters and a calendar on the wall. It dawns on him that the wizard's spell has mistakenly sent them not to the past but 30 generations into the future. He also realizes that Julia is not Princess Rosalind, but instead his descendant. Meanwhile, Julia contacts her fiancé, Hunter, to let him know about Thibault's unexpected arrival. Hunter shows little interest in her cousins and only cares about the money they can make by selling off part of the estate. To get to know them better, he invites Thibault and André to stay at their home, offering a bit of hospitality. Julia agrees to bring them there. Thibault, still desperate to return to his own time and prevent a family tragedy, asks Julia for help. She agrees to do whatever she can, though she is still uncertain about everything. While waiting for Hunter, Thibault and André are both in awe and slightly frightened by the strange modern world around them. At Julia's home, she attempts to listen to Thibault's account, but André continually interrupts, making it hard to follow. Thibault explains that they need a wizard to help them return to their own time. Julia thinks they must have lost his way in a storm while yachting and believes they are suffering from amnesia. Thibault, however, insists that he has traveled from the past by mistake and tries to convince her of the truth. Outside, Hunter grumbles as he cleans up yet another mess left by Thibault and André. He enters the house to find even more chaos, growing his irritation. Despite his frustration, Julia and Hunter decide to take them to a nice dinner and suggest they take a bath first. In the bathroom, Thibault and André pour every liquid they find into the tub. While Thibault dries off, he notices his family tree displayed in the hallway. Soon, a ringing phone startles them both. The call is from Amber, Hunter's secret girlfriend, but André's interruptions cause the conversation to end shortly. Later that evening, as they head out for dinner, Thibault admires Julia, calling her a princess. They dine at one of the town's finest restaurants, where Thibault initially refuses to let André sit with them, only relenting after Julia's insistence. André's lack of manners draws attention. He burps, farts, and even damages restroom fixtures, leaving Julia and Hunter embarrassed. Meanwhile, Thibault and Hunter discuss the future of Thibault's estate, with Hunter wanting to sell the castle and art separately. Thibault disagrees, arguing that Julia should decide the property's fate. After an awkward dinner, as they leave, André cheerfully hands everyone bits of the broken bathroom air freshener, mistaking it for mints. Back to the 12th century, guards grow suspicious when the priests don't leave Thibault's cell. After knocking continuously with no response, they begin forcing their way in. Meanwhile, the wizard, realizing Thibault and André need help, brews the same potion and drinks it, vanishing just as the guards burst into the cell. In the modern-day museum, a security guard is stunned when the wizard suddenly appears in the gallery and quickly runs off in shock. At Julia's house, she prepares beds for Thibault and André. As they settle in, the TV turns on, showing people on the screen. Mistaking it for a box trapping real people, Thibault and André try to rescue them, banging on the screen until it explodes. The next morning, Thibault excitedly wakes Julia, urging her to help him find a wizard to return to his time. André, meanwhile, steps outside and is charmed by a gardener next door. When he sees her employer mistreat her, he steps in, intimidating the man and demanding an apology. Thibault and Julia arrive, allowing the man to escape. Eager to find a wizard, Thibault leaves André with the gardener. As a gesture of his likeness, André offers her a small treasure box adorned with real rubies. At the train station, Julia pins a note with her contact details onto Thibault's clothing. There, when a pickpocket tries to steal her purse, Thibault reacts swiftly, nearly cutting the thief's hand, causing a considerable scene. Julia, preoccupied with calming a nearby elderly woman who has grown distressed, loses sight of Thibault in the commotion. Meanwhile, Thibault spots a woman wearing a long coat and hat who resembles a wizard, prompting him to chase after her in the crowded streets. Determined to find a way back to his time, he stops various people to ask if they know of any wizards, eventually stumbling into a bar. There he quickly becomes absorbed in the lively atmosphere, drinking and singing with the patrons, forgetting his purpose. Back at her office, Julia meets with her supervisor and a security guard, who witnessed the strange appearance of the wizard at the museum last night. The guard recounts the bizarre event and Julia inspects the area where the wizard was last seen, noticing a locket hanging from one of the statues, engraved with a room number. Returning to her office, she calls Hunter to inform him that Thibault is missing. Just as she explains the situation, another call interrupts, providing her with Thibault's whereabouts. Julia finds Thibault in the bar and convinces him to leave by telling him she has located a wizard. As they walk, Julia admits she is beginning to believe in his story, which surprises Thibault. Suddenly, he spots the wizard from his era on the street and dashes over to him. The wizard, stunned, momentarily mistakes her for Princess Rosalind. Thibault quickly clarifies that she is actually his descendant. The wizard reassures them that they will soon be able to return to their own time, prompting Thibault to hurry back and retrieve André. However, as they leave, the wizard's experiment misfires, triggering a powerful explosion. His magic causes his body parts to solidify, scattering all across the room. Meanwhile, André spends an exciting day exploring the city with Angelique, the gardener. She sells one of the precious rubies from the treasure box and spends on everything she wants, including modern clothes and a feast of food for André and small luxuries for herself. Together, they enjoy a carefree evening at a bar, laughing and embracing the lively atmosphere. At the same time, Hunter is also at the same bar with Amber. When they unexpectedly encounter André and Angelique, Hunter quickly withdraws to avoid any interaction. He briefly introduces Amber as his sister and in his haste, drops her purse before leaving. After a night of fun, André and Angelique finally leave the bar, satisfied and cheerful. Angelique, now feeling even more emboldened, encourages André to quit his work and spend his life with her, living freely without obligations. But when André finally meets Thibaut, he is left speechless, unable to say a word. His silence frustrates Angelique, who expected him to share his feelings more openly. Later that night, Julia also makes and shares a bold decision with Hunter. She says that she wants to return all of Thibaut's ancestral estates to their rightful owner. She tells Hunter of her choice, determined to set things right in the family. Elsewhere, the wizard remains in a frozen, fragmented state in the heart of the explosion site. Slowly, he begins to gather strength, piecing his body back together bit by bit. With intense focus, he collects each solidified part scattered around the room, determined to restore himself fully and continue his mission. Hunter, meanwhile, hires a private investigator to confirm whether Thibaut is truly Julia's cousin, who had been presumed lost at sea. Days later, the investigator returns with results, revealing that Thibaut's fingerprints do not match those of Julia's long-lost cousin. The following day, the wizard arrives at Julia's home, carrying a potion he has prepared to send both himself and Thibaut back to the 12th century. Thibaut shares the plan with André, asking him to prepare for the journey. However, André collects the courage and admits he does not want to return to the medieval world. Instead, he dreams of staying in the modern era to live freely with Angelique. Julia, understanding André's wishes, convinces Thibaut to let him stay, to which Thibaut reluctantly agrees. With newfound excitement, André hands Julia Amber's purse, left behind during their night at the bar, mentioning that it belongs to his sister before hurrying off to reunite with Angelique. Later, when Hunter returns home with the news that Thibaut is not Julia's real cousin, he tries to prevent Thibaut from interfering with his plans to sell Julia's estates. However, Julia, now aware of Hunter's disloyalty and seeing through his true motives, ends their relationship, telling him that all he ever wanted from her was the money. Frustrated and revengeful, Hunter contacts the police, accusing Thibaut and the wizard of being frauds and alerting them about their presence in his house. In the meantime, Thibaut, Julia, and the wizard make their way to the museum, knowing they need to be there to complete the time travel ritual. However, just as they approach the museum, they realize the police are now closing in on them. Thibaut, the wizard and Julia arrive at the museum, ready to return to their time. Before departing, Thibaut reassures Julia, sensing her worry about living without him. He tells her that though they are parting, she will soon meet someone better suited for her, as he has seen it in a vision. He gives her the lock of Rosalind's hair as a token of love and remembrance from his side. In return, she hands him a small hair clutcher for Rosalind, and Thibaut, with a grateful smile, happily agrees to deliver it. With these emotions, he and the wizard drink the potion, returning to the past just in time to stop the tragic murder of Princess Rosalind. This time, Thibaut offers the potion to the Earl as a peace offering, but the Earl, unwilling to accept it, jumps from the window to his death. With the danger averted, Thibaut and Rosalind are joyfully reunited. Meanwhile, in the present, Hunter, in a moment of frustration and confusion, mistakenly drinks the remaining potion. As he does, Hunter unknowingly chants the words written on a piece of paper on a nearby table, left behind by the wizard. This chant triggers the magic, and in the blink of an eye, he is transported back to the 12th century. Unaware of what is happening around, Hunter is quickly seized by the people from the past, finding himself trapped in a time he never intended to be. On the other hand, inspired by the events that have unfolded, Julia takes a bold step toward reclaiming her family's legacy, now armed with a deep understanding of her ancestors' history. Determined to secure her family's future, she visits the castle, which she now plans to keep. There, she meets François Lecombier, a man well versed in her family's past, and together, they begin to forge a new path together. As for André and Angelique, they are seen cruising down the open road with their spirits light and free. On their way to Las Vegas, André asks Angelique who will protect him from the devil. With a playful smile, Angelique responds that he has her to protect him. André, feeling the warmth of her words, smiles in return, knowing that with her by his side, he has everything he needs. The two of them drive off into the horizon, Their future wide open and full of possibilities.